The door did not slam shut behind Alex. It sealed. That detail mattered more than it should have. A smooth, airtight hiss replaced what could have been a dramatic metallic crash, as if the station itself had decided that whatever happened inside this chamber would be conducted with quiet efficiency rather than spectacle. Alex stood still for a moment, listening to the fading hum of the locking mechanisms, then exhaled slowly. "Well," he murmured to no one in particular, "that's reassuring. At least they trust the door more than me." The room was larger than a standard holding cell, but emptier. No furniture, no visible restraints, no obvious weapons, unless one counted the reinforced walls, which had the subtle texture of something designed to survive an explosion or an argument, whichever came first. And in the far corner, partially obscured by shadow, something moved. Alex didn't turn his head immediately. He let his eyes adjust instead, tracking the shape without reacting to it. He had learned long ago that sudden attention could be mistaken for sudden aggression. In places like this, misunderstanding tended to be terminal. There she was, Kerra. She did not rise to greet him. She did not speak. She crouched low, one hand pressed against the ground, the other slightly raised as if ready to strike or shield. Her body was still, but not relaxed. Every line of her form suggested coiled energy, like a storm pretending to be a statue. At first glance, she could have passed for human, same proportions, same fragile symmetry. But then his gaze settled on the long, elegant ears, extending back from her head, and the illusion dissolved. They weren't decorative. They twitched, subtly, independently, tracking sound with unsettling precision. "Right," Alex said quietly, as if confirming something in his own mind. "Not human. Noted." No response. He took a few steps forward, not toward her, but toward the center of the room, and then stopped. He lowered himself to the ground with deliberate slowness, leaning back against the wall as though he had just entered a waiting room, rather than a containment chamber with a reputation for violent outcomes. "I'm Alex," he added after a moment, "in case you were planning to ask, which I assume you're not." Kerra shifted. It was small, barely a movement, but it was enough to confirm that she was paying attention. Alex let a few seconds pass, then glanced up at the ceiling. He could feel the observation systems, thermal sensors, motion trackers, probably at least one biometric scanner, analyzing how quickly he was regretting his life choices. "Hello up there," he said, raising a hand in a lazy half-wave. "If anyone's taking bets, I'd like to formally request better odds. I bruise easily." Somewhere beyond the walls, someone was definitely watching, possibly very confused. Kerra moved again. This time she stepped forward. It wasn't a charge. It wasn't even fast. It was careful, measured, each step placed with precision, as if the floor itself might betray her. Her eyes never left him, sharp and unblinking. Alex noticed the details now, the way her shoulders remained tense, even as she moved, the slight tremor in her fingers, not weakness, but restraint. The kind of control that only existed when something inside was constantly threatening to break loose. He didn't meet her gaze directly. Not yet. Instead, he tilted his head slightly, as if considering something mildly inconvenient. "You know," he said, "they told me you were dangerous." A pause. "They also told me the food here was edible, so I'm starting to question their credibility." Kerra stopped a few steps away, close enough that he could hear her breathing now. Quick, shallow, uneven. Not the rhythm of a predator preparing to strike, but something more complicated, something fractured. Alex slowly shifted one hand, placing it palm down on the ground beside him, fingers relaxed. "I'm not going to hurt you," he said, not as a command, not as a plea, but as a simple statement of fact. Kerra's ears flicked, her head tilted, just slightly. It was the first expression that wasn't purely defensive. Confusion. Alex allowed himself a faint smile. "I know. Suspicious behavior. Very concerning." Silence stretched between them again, but it had changed. It no longer felt like the edge of something violent. It felt like a question waiting to be answered. Kerra took another step, then another, and then she stopped, standing just outside his reach. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Then slowly, carefully, she crouched again. Not in attack, in observation. Alex let out a quiet breath, glancing briefly at the ceiling once more. "Good news, Hunanai," he said softly. "I'm still alive. You might want to update the scoreboard." Kara's eyes flicked upward at the sound of his voice, then back to him. Her posture shifted again, just slightly less rigid. It wasn't trust, not even close, but it wasn't hatred either. And in a room designed for violence, that felt like a very strange kind of victory. Time passed, though the room did not acknowledge it. There were no windows, no visible clocks, no shifting light cycles to mark the slow crawl of hours. Only the faint hum of the station's systems and the distant vibration of engines somewhere deep within the structure, like a heartbeat that belonged to something far too large to see. Alex remained where he was, leaning against the wall, one knee slightly raised, hands relaxed. He had not moved much, not because he was afraid, but because movement had consequences here. Every motion was a statement. Every shift could be misread. Kerra had not attacked. That alone had probably ruined several expectations outside the chamber. He tilted his head slightly, glancing up again. "You know," he said, voice low and conversational, "if anyone's disappointed up there, I'd like to point out that I'm doing my best to be entertaining. This is just a very slow genre." No response, of course, but he imagined at least one guard staring at a monitor, wondering if the human had finally lost his mind. Kara shifted. She had been watching him the entire time. Not blinking often, not relaxing, just observing. Her position had changed subtly over the past stretch of silence. She was closer now, not by much but enough that the distance between them no longer felt like a barrier, more like a cautious line neither had decided to cross. Alex noticed it without reacting. He adjusted his posture slightly, stretching his leg out with a quiet exhale. "If you're planning to circle me dramatically," he added, "I should warn you, I might start charging for tickets." Kara moved. She did circle him. Not dramatically, unfortunately. It was slow, deliberate, and silent. Her bare feet made almost no sound against the reinforced floor, her body angled just enough to keep him in her peripheral vision at all times. She was mapping him, studying him the way one might study something unfamiliar but potentially dangerous. Alex followed her movement only with his eyes, never turning his head fully. "Very subtle," he murmured. "I almost didn't notice." She paused behind him. For a moment, the air tightened. Alex could feel it, the slight shift in pressure, the way her presence lingered just outside his direct line of sight. Most people would have turned immediately, instinctively, trying to face the threat. He didn't. Instead, he looked straight ahead and said, "You know, if you attack me from behind, it's technically unfair. I didn't even get a proper warm-up." A breath, then nothing. Kara stepped away, not retreating, not advancing, just choosing not to act. That choice mattered. Alex let his shoulders relax just a fraction more. "Good call," he said softly. "I'm terrible at dramatic fight scenes anyway. I always forget my lines." A faint sound followed. It was quiet, almost nothing. But it wasn't the hum of the station. It came from her. Kara. Alex didn't react immediately. He let the moment settle, let the sound exist without drawing attention to it. But internally, something shifted. It hadn't been a growl. It hadn't been aggression. It had been something else. Not quite a laugh, but not far from it either. "Well," he said after a moment, "that's new. I'll take that as a positive review." Kara moved back into his field of vision, crouching again, though not as far away as before. Her head tilted slightly, ears angling toward him, as if trying to process something that didn't fit into her understanding of the world. Alex met her gaze briefly this time, just for a second. Not a challenge, just acknowledgement. Then he looked away again, giving her the space to decide what that meant. "You don't have to keep waiting for me to do something," he said quietly. "I'm not going to." Silence answered him, but it was no longer heavy. It felt thinner, like something had been removed from it. Minutes passed, or hours. Eventually, a soft mechanical sound echoed from one side of the chamber. A panel slid open with a smooth, precise motion, revealing a narrow slot. A tray extended outward, carrying two portions of something that could generously be described as food. Alex raised an eyebrow. Ah, the famous cuisine. Kerra reacted instantly. The shift was immediate and sharp. Her entire body tensed, eyes snapping toward the tray, movements losing their careful restraint. She moved fast, faster than before, closing the distance in a blur of controlled urgency. Alex didn't move toward it. He stayed where he was, watching her with the same calm expression. Go ahead, he said. I'm not competing. Kerra stopped just short of the tray, her breathing quick again, her posture defensive. She glanced at him, then back at the food, then back at him. Waiting, expecting something. Alex leaned his head back against the wall. If I wanted to fight you for that, he added, I would have made a much worse first impression. Another pause. Then slowly she reached out. Her hand hovered over the tray for a fraction of a second, as if anticipating it to disappear or retaliate. Then she grabbed it and pulled it closer. She retreated a step, still watching him, still tense, but now with possession secured. She ate quickly, not messily, but urgently. Efficient, like someone who had learned that hesitation meant loss. Alex glanced at his own untouched portion, then back at her. You know, he said, if the goal was to impress you, I feel like I should have brought better snacks. Kerra slowed, just slightly. Her movements became less frantic, more deliberate. She was still watching him, still alert, but something had changed again. Less panic, more awareness. Alex folded his arms loosely. I'll give it a moment, he added. Maybe it improves if you stare at it long enough. Another small sound, softer this time. Kerra finished eating, though she didn't move away. She stayed where she was, crouched, watching him with that same strange mix of caution and curiosity. The distance between them remained, but it no longer felt like a line drawn in fear. It felt like something waiting to be crossed. Alex closed his eyes briefly, letting out a slow breath. You know, he murmured, this is going a lot better than they expected. When he opened them again, Kerra was still there, still watching, but no longer looking at him like he was something that needed to be destroyed. And in a place like this, that was more dangerous than anything else. The room did not change, but something inside it had. Alex noticed it first in the way Kerra breathed. Not the speed. She still held that tight, controlled rhythm, but the edges of it had softened, like a storm that had not passed, only decided to wait. She remained crouched, closer now than before, her attention fixed on him in a way that was no longer purely defensive. It was curious. Alex shifted slightly, stretching his arms above his head with a quiet groan. I should have asked for a chair, he muttered, or at least a pillow. You'd think a high-security facility could spare one pillow. Kerra's ears twitched at the change in his tone. He noticed that too. You don't seem like a pillow person, he added, glancing at her briefly. More of a sleep wherever the danger is type. No response, but she didn't retreat either. That was becoming a pattern. He lowered his arms and rested them loosely on his knees. You know, he continued, where I used to work, we had a saying, if someone isn't attacking you yet, it means they're thinking about it. A pause. Or they're deciding you're not worth the effort. I'm still figuring out which one I am. Kerra tilted her head again, that same small, precise motion. Her gaze flickered across his face, then his hands, then back to his eyes. She was studying him differently now, not just tracking movement, but trying to understand it. Alex let his hands remain visible, relaxed. For the record, he added, I'm hoping for the second option. It's better for my long-term survival. A faint vibration pulsed through the floor. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but Kerra reacted instantly. Her posture snapped tight again, muscles coiling, head turning sharply toward the wall. Her breathing quickened, ears angling toward the source of the sound. Alex felt it too, the low-frequency hum of something massive shifting position somewhere beyond the chamber. A ship maneuver maybe, or a system recalibration. To him, it was background noise. To her, it was a threat. He didn't move toward her. He didn't reach out. He simply spoke. Hey, he said, voice steady. It's just the station. Kerra didn't look at him. Her focus remained locked on the walls, on the invisible machinery beyond them, as if expecting it to break through at any moment. Alex exhaled slowly. Big structure, he continued. Lots of moving parts. Makes noises it probably shouldn't. Another vibration followed, slightly stronger this time. Kerra flinched. Not dramatically, not outwardly, but enough. Alex shifted just a little, adjusting his position so that he leaned more comfortably against the wall. If it helps, he added, I don't like it either. Sounds like it's thinking too hard. A pause. Then deliberately he closed his eyes. It was a risk, but it was also a statement. I'm still here, he said quietly, not reacting, so you don't have to either. Silence stretched. The hum of the station continued, steady and indifferent. Slowly, very slowly, Kara's breathing began to even out again. Her posture remained tense, but the immediate edge of panic receded. She didn't relax completely, but she stopped preparing for impact. After a moment, she looked at him. Really looked. Her gaze lingered on his closed eyes, on the way his body remained still despite the noise, despite the environment. There was something unfamiliar in that stillness, something she hadn't learned how to interpret. Alex opened one eye slightly. Still alive, he said. Good sign. Her ears flicked. He closed his eye again. You can try it, he added. Not the closing your eyes in a high-risk environment part. That one takes practice. But the not reacting to every sound part. It's useful. No immediate response, but she didn't look back at the walls. That mattered. Another stretch of quiet passed, and this time it felt different. Not empty, not tense, just present. Eventually, Alex shifted again, letting his head rest back more comfortably. You know, he murmured, I used to talk to people who were a lot louder than you. A faint glance from her. They'd yell, threaten, make big speeches about how everything was going to end badly. He paused. You're actually much easier to negotiate with. Kerra blinked. It was slow, deliberate. Alex smiled faintly. Granted, you haven't agreed to anything yet, but you also haven't tried to kill me, so I'm calling that progress. She moved then, not abruptly, not cautiously either, just closer. One step, then another, until she was within reach. Alex didn't react. He didn't lean away, didn't tense, didn't even open his eyes again. He simply stayed as he was, breathing evenly, existing without expectation. Kerra lowered herself slightly, her movements careful, controlled. Her gaze remained fixed on him, searching for something, some sign, some shift, something that would confirm what she believed about him. There was none, only stillness, only calm. Slowly she extended a hand. It hovered near his arm, fingers slightly curled, as if unsure what contact would mean. Her breathing hitched, just slightly, the old tension threatening to return. Alex spoke softly without opening his eyes. You don't have to decide anything right now. Her hand trembled. He continued just as quietly. You can just be here. The words hung in the air, simple and unforced. Kerra hesitated, then slowly, carefully. Her fingers brushed against his sleeve. The contact was light, barely there, but it was enough. She didn't pull away immediately. She stayed. And for the first time since he had entered the chamber, she wasn't just watching him. She was choosing not to be alone. Kerra did not pull her hand away. That alone was enough to change the entire balance of the room. Her fingers rested lightly against Alex's sleeve, barely applying pressure, as if she expected the contact itself to trigger something. Pain, rejection, retaliation. Her breathing slowed, but not fully. It hovered somewhere between caution and something she didn't yet understand. Alex didn't move, not even a little. He kept his posture loose, his shoulders relaxed, his eyes still closed. The only sign that he was aware of the contact was the slight shift in his breathing, as if he had acknowledged it without reacting to it. After a few seconds, he spoke. Congratulations, he murmured. You've successfully touched a human without causing a catastrophic incident. Kara's ears twitched. The tension in her hand didn't vanish, but it shifted, less rigid, more uncertain. Alex opened one eye just enough to glance at her hand. I'd rate the experience highly, he added. Very non-lethal. Strong start. She pulled her hand back slightly, not fully, just enough to reconsider. Then slowly she touched his sleeve again. This time the contact lasted longer. Alex let out a quiet breath, almost like a satisfied sigh. "You're getting the hang of it," he said. "Next step is not assuming everything ends badly. That one takes a bit more time." Kara watched him closely, her gaze sharper now, more focused. The initial shock of contact had passed, replaced by something more deliberate. She was testing, learning, adjusting. Alex shifted his arm slightly, not away but enough to make the movement visible, predictable. No sudden changes, no surprises. "You see that?" he said. "That's me moving. Very dramatic, I know, but not dangerous." Her eyes tracked the motion instantly. Her hand hovered again, then followed, brushing against his arm once more, this time with a fraction more confidence. The air in the room felt different. Not safe, not yet, but no longer hostile. A faint mechanical tone echoed from the wall, followed by a brief flicker of light across the ceiling. The station was cycling something: energy redistribution, environmental recalibration, or perhaps just reminding everyone that it was still in control. Kara reacted, but less sharply than before. Her body tensed for a moment, her ears angling toward the source. But she didn't retreat. She didn't snap back into full defensive posture. Instead, she stayed. Alex noticed. "Progress," he said quietly. "You didn't immediately assume the ceiling was trying to kill us." He tilted his head slightly, glancing upward. "Which, to be fair, is still a possibility, but statistically unlikely." Kara looked at him again. There was something different in her expression now. Not confusion exactly, but a kind of focused curiosity, as if she was trying to solve a problem that didn't follow the rules she expected. Alex met her gaze for a moment, then looked away again. "You keep waiting for me to change," he said. "I'm not going to." A pause. "I mean, eventually I will. Probably older, maybe slightly more tired, but not in the way you're expecting." Kara shifted closer. It wasn't cautious this time. It was intentional. She moved into his space, close enough that the distance between them no longer existed as a barrier. Her movements were still controlled, still measured, but they lacked the earlier hesitation. Alex didn't react outwardly, but his voice softened slightly. "Careful," he murmured. "At this rate, people might start thinking you like me." Her ears flicked again. He allowed himself a faint smile, "Which would be very inconvenient for your reputation." Another moment passed, quiet and steady. Then Kara did something new. She sat down. Not in the far corner, not at a safe distance, right beside him. The movement was slow, deliberate, as if she was fully aware of what it meant. Her posture remained alert, her muscles still carrying that underlying tension. But she didn't pull away. She stayed. Alex let out a soft exhale, glancing down briefly before looking forward again. "Well," he said, "this is unexpected." He shifted slightly, adjusting his position so that there was space beside him, not forcing it, just allowing it. Kara didn't move away from the space. She leaned into it, just slightly. The contact was minimal, almost accidental, but it was there. Alex blinked once, then looked up at the ceiling. "If anyone's watching," he said quietly, "you're definitely not going to believe this part." A faint vibration passed through the floor again, softer this time, more distant. Kara noticed, but she didn't react the same way as before. Her body tensed for a moment, then eased again, her attention shifting back to Alex rather than the walls. He nodded slightly. "See? Still not exploding." Very reassuring. Her breathing steadied further. The tension in her shoulders eased by a fraction. And then, slowly, carefully, she leaned a little closer. Not enough to fully rest against him. Not yet. But enough that the distance between them was no longer uncertain. It was chosen. Alex closed his eyes again, letting the moment settle without interrupting it. "Not bad," he murmured. "For two people who were supposed to destroy each other." Kara didn't respond, but she didn't move away either. And in a place built to contain violence, that quiet decision carried more weight than anything else. The change did not come from Kara. It came from outside. A sharp tone cut through the room, different from the usual mechanical hum, higher, more deliberate. It wasn't loud, but it carried intent. The kind of sound designed to trigger attention rather than panic. Kerra reacted instantly. Her body snapped upright, muscles tightening, her position shifting from calm proximity to something far more alert. The contact between them broke, not violently, but with sudden urgency. Her eyes moved toward the walls, scanning, searching. Alex opened his eyes slowly, as if waking from a nap rather than responding to a potential threat. "That one's new," he murmured, the tone repeated. Then a voice followed, filtered, controlled, artificially calm. "Subject K-17, stand by." Kerra froze, not in fear, in recognition. Alex's gaze flicked toward her, then toward the ceiling. "Ah," he said softly, "you have fans." The voice continued, ignoring him completely. "Subject K-17, prepare for extraction." Kara's breathing changed. Not the earlier panic, not the defensive sharpness. This was different, heavier. Her shoulders tensed but not forward, backward, as if bracing for something inevitable. Her ears lowered slightly, her posture shifting in a way Alex had not seen before. Not aggression, resistance. Alex watched her carefully. "You don't like that idea," he said. The walls responded before she could. A panel near the far side of the room slid open, revealing a narrow corridor beyond. Bright light spilled in, sharp and clinical, cutting through the softer tones of the chamber. Kerra stepped back, not toward the exit, away from it. Alex glanced between her and the opening, then back again. "Let me guess," he said. "Their version of treatment involves a lot of unpleasant surprises." The tone sounded again, sharper this time. "Subject K-17, comply." Kara's reaction was immediate. She moved, not toward the exit, toward Alex. It wasn't cautious, it wasn't hesitant, it was fast. She crossed the space between them in a single motion, dropping beside him, closer than before, her presence almost pressed against him. Her hand gripped his sleeve again, tighter this time. Not testing, holding. Alex blinked once, then glanced down at her hand. "Well," he murmured, "that's a strong opinion." The voice above shifted slightly, the artificial calm thinning at the edges. "Human subject, step away from K-17. Alex looked up at the ceiling. "I'd love to," he said, "but she seems to have filed an objection." Kara's grip tightened. Her breathing was uneven again, but not chaotic. Focused, defensive. Not against him, against them. The corridor light flickered slightly as figures moved beyond it. Shadows stretched across the floor, tall, armored, precise. The kind of movement that suggested training, discipline, and very little patience. Alex sighed softly. "Here comes the part where things get complicated." He shifted slightly, not pulling away from Kerra, but adjusting his position so that he sat a little more upright. His movements were slow, deliberate, visible. "Hey," he said quietly, his voice angled toward her rather than the observers. "You don't have to fight them?" Her grip didn't loosen. Her gaze remained fixed on the corridor. He tilted his head slightly. "Also, for the record, I would very much prefer if you didn't start a war on my behalf. I don't think I'd survive the paperwork." A flicker of something crossed her expression. Not humor, but not the absence of it either. The voice returned, sharper now. "Human subject, you are interfering with protocol." Alex raised a hand slightly as if acknowledging a minor inconvenience. "Yes," he said, "that does seem to be a recurring theme in my life." One of the figures stepped into view, tall, armored, helmeted, the kind of presence designed to enforce compliance rather than invite discussion. Kerra reacted immediately. Her body shifted forward, placing herself between Alex and the entrance without fully standing. Her posture lowered, muscles coiling again, but this time the tension was different. Not fear, protection. Alex glanced at her, then at the approaching figure. "You know," he said quietly, "this is a very dramatic way to tell someone you don't want to leave." The armored figure took another step forward. Kerra didn't retreat. Her grip on Alex's sleeve loosened just enough for her to adjust her position, but she didn't let go completely. Alex exhaled slowly, his gaze steady now, more focused. "All right," he murmured. "New situation." He leaned slightly toward her, just enough that his voice would carry without rising. If they come closer, I'm going to talk. Not fight, not run. Just talk. A pause. You can stay, he added, but you don't have to protect me. Kerra didn't respond, but she didn't move away either. The figure stopped just inside the threshold, its presence filling the doorway, blocking the light behind it. For a moment, everything held. Then Alex looked up, meeting the faceless helmet directly. You're going to have to give me a better explanation than protocol, he said calmly, because from where I'm sitting, she's not the problem. The silence that followed was heavier than anything before. Kerra remained at his side, not attacking, not retreating, choosing. And for the first time, the people outside the room hesitated. The hesitation did not last long. It never did, in places built on certainty. Proceed with retrieval, the voice ordered, colder now, stripped of its earlier restraint. The armored figure shifted its stance, one step forward, then another, crossing the threshold fully. The corridor light stretched behind it, turning its silhouette into something larger, more imposing. Kerra reacted instantly. Her body lowered further, shoulders tightening, her position anchoring between Alex and the intruder. The air around her seemed to sharpen, every movement precise, calculated, ready. Alex noticed something new. She wasn't preparing to attack blindly. She was waiting, watching, choosing the exact moment. He leaned slightly forward, his voice calm. Hey, he said quietly. Remember the part where we don't start a war? No response. Her focus remained locked. The armored figure raised an arm. A faint blue glow pulsed along its gauntlet, energy coiling into form. Non-lethal, probably, but forceful enough to end the situation quickly. Alex exhaled. All right, he murmured. They're not here for a friendly conversation. He shifted his position again, just enough to place himself slightly in Kerra's line of sight. Not blocking her, not restricting her, just present. Kerra. It was the first time he used her name directly. Her ears flicked, just once. That was enough. You trust me? He asked. The question hung in the air, simple and impossible at the same time. The armored figure took another step. The energy in its gauntlet intensified. Kerra's muscles tightened. And then, she didn't move. Not forward, not yet. Alex nodded slightly as if she had answered him out loud. Good, he said softly, because I have a very questionable plan. He raised one hand slowly, palm open, facing the armored figure. The motion was deliberate, visible, impossible to misinterpret. Let's pause for a second, he said, his voice carrying easily across the room, before anyone does something irreversible. The figure didn't stop. Protocol, the voice began, is about to fail, Alex interrupted calmly. That did it. The figure halted, not fully convinced, but no longer advancing. Kerra remained in position, still coiled, still ready, but her attention shifted slightly, just enough to include Alex again, not just the threat. Alex tilted his head. You've been observing this entire time, he continued, addressing the unseen watchers. You saw what happened. You saw what didn't happen. Silence. He gestured slightly toward Kerra. She didn't attack me, not once. Not when I entered. Not when I moved. Not even when I annoyed her with terrible jokes. A small pause, which I should point out is impressive. The armored figure's stance adjusted subtly, the energy in its gauntlet dimming by a fraction. Alex noticed. He pressed forward. You labeled her as uncontrollable, he said. Dangerous, irredeemable. But the only thing she's done since I got here is react to what she thinks is a threat. He lowered his hand slightly, his tone steady. And right now, the only threat in this room isn't her. The silence that followed was different, not empty, processing. Kerra's breathing shifted again, less sharp now, though the tension in her body remained. She stayed where she was, still between Alex and the figure, but her posture changed, less explosive, more grounded. Alex glanced at her briefly. You're doing great, he murmured. Her ears flicked again. The voice returned, but this time it carried hesitation. Human subject, your interference is complicating assessment. Alex smiled faintly. That's usually when the assessment needs updating. The armored figure lowered its arm slightly, not completely, but enough. The blue glow faded to a softer pulse. Kerra noticed. Her posture shifted, not relaxed, but no longer at the edge of immediate action. Alex took a slow breath. "Here's a better idea," he said. "Instead of forcing her out, you give her a reason to leave." A pause. "Without fear." Silence answered him. Then finally, "What do you propose?" Alex leaned back slightly, just enough to ease the tension in his shoulders. "You open the door," he said. "You step back. No weapons raised. No sudden movements." He gestured lightly. "And you let her decide." Another pause. "That is not standard procedure." "Neither is this," Alex replied. The armored figure remained still. Kerra remained still. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. Then slowly, the figure stepped back. Just one step. The corridor light widened. The path opened. No weapons raised. No sudden movement. Kerra didn't move immediately. Her eyes remained fixed on the opening. Her body still tense. Still uncertain. Alex didn't push. Didn't speak. He simply waited. After a long moment, she shifted. One step. Careful. Measured. Then she stopped. Her gaze flicked to Alex. He nodded slightly. "Your choice," he said. Another step. Closer to the doorway. Her breathing was steady now, controlled, but her awareness remained sharp, tracking every detail. She reached the threshold. Paused. The light from the corridor touched her fully now, outlining her form against the darker chamber behind her. For a moment it looked like she might continue. Leave. Walk forward. Instead, she turned, not away, back. Her gaze found Alex again, and then, slowly, deliberately, she stepped back inside. The distance between them closed once more. She returned to his side. The silence that followed was absolute. Alex blinked once, then looked up at the ceiling. "Well," he said quietly, "that answers that." No one spoke. No one moved. Kerra remained beside him, not because she had to, because she chose to. The room did not feel like a prison anymore. It still had the same walls, the same reinforced surfaces, the same quiet hum of distant systems, but something had shifted in a way no scanner could measure. Alex noticed it in the way the guards no longer rushed the door. They still watched. They always would. But the urgency was gone, replaced by something far more uncomfortable for them: uncertainty. Kerra stood beside him, not crouched, not coiled, simply standing. Her posture was still alert, but no longer defensive in every direction. She wasn't bracing for impact. She was waiting. The door opened again. This time, no alarm preceded it. No sharp tones. No raised weapons. Just the quiet slide of reinforced metal, revealing the corridor beyond. Alex tilted his head slightly. "That's new," he murmured. "Either they've learned something, or they're trying a different kind of mistake." Kerra didn't move immediately. Her gaze fixed on the corridor, then shifted briefly to Alex. He met her eyes for a moment and gave a small, almost casual nod. "No one's rushing you," he said, "which I admit is suspicious, but also promising." A figure stepped into view, not armored this time. No helmet, no glowing weapons. Just a uniform, simple and unthreatening, or at least trying very hard to be. "We've reassessed the situation," the figure said. Alex raised an eyebrow. "That was fast. I expected at least 3 meetings and a dramatic disagreement." The figure ignored that. "The alien subject will be transferred to a recovery unit. Non-invasive observation. No restraints." Kerra's ears shifted. Not flattening, not rising. Listening. Alex glanced at her, then back at the figure. "And me?" A brief pause. "You will be relocated as well. Your record is under review." Alex exhaled slowly. "Ah, the part where you realize I wasn't the villain." Another pause. "Your actions were misinterpreted." He smiled faintly. "That happens when people confuse rules with outcomes." Silence followed, but it wasn't hostile. Just thoughtful. Kerra took a step forward. Not fast, not hesitant, deliberate. She moved toward the doorway, her posture steady, her movements controlled. The corridor light framed her again, but this time it didn't feel like a threat. It felt like an option. Alex didn't follow immediately. He watched her instead, arms loosely at his sides, an expression calm. "You know," he said quietly, "most people would have run by now." Kerra paused at the threshold. Her gaze shifted back to him. Alex tilted his head slightly. "I won't stop you," he added. "That's kind of the point." A moment passed, then another. Kerra stepped into the corridor. Fully. The space beyond didn't react. No alarms. No sudden movement. Just stillness. Alex let out a soft breath. "Look at that," he murmured. "A system learning. I didn't think I lived to see it." The figure in the corridor gestured slightly, not commanding, just indicating a direction. "This way." Kerra didn't move immediately. She looked at Alex again. He smiled just a little. "Go," he said. "I'll be right behind you, assuming they don't change their minds in the next 10 seconds. A faint flicker of something passed through her expression, then she turned and walked. Not like a prisoner, not like something dangerous, just walking. Alex followed a step later, hands still relaxed, posture unchanged. As he crossed the threshold, he glanced briefly at the walls, the ceiling, the unseen observers beyond them. "Next time," he said casually, "you might want to try this approach first." No one answered, but no one disagreed either. The corridor stretched ahead, clean and bright, lined with systems that hummed quietly with purpose. It felt different from the chamber. Not safer, not yet, but less confined. Kerra walked beside him now. Not ahead, not behind. Beside. Her pace matched his without effort, her movement steady, her presence no longer defined by tension alone. Alex glanced at her briefly. "You know," he said, "for someone they called wild, you've been remarkably reasonable." Her ears shifted slightly. He smiled. "Low expectations help." They walked in silence for a while, not the heavy silence from before. Something lighter, something chosen. Eventually they reached a junction where the corridor split. The figure ahead slowed, turning slightly. "This is where you separate," they said. Kerra stopped. Alex stopped. For a moment, neither moved. Then Alex exhaled softly. "Right," he said. "That part." He glanced at her, his expression calm but not distant. "You'll be fine," he added. "You're already doing better than most of them." A small pause. "And if anyone bothers you," he continued, "try not to bite through anything important. It complicates the paperwork." A faint, almost imperceptible shift in her expression. Not quite a smile, but close. Alex nodded once. "Yeah," he said quietly. "That's what I thought." Kerra looked at him for a long moment. Then slowly she reached out. Her hand touched his arm again. Not testing, not uncertain. Just there. Alex didn't move away. He let the moment settle, then gave a small, reassuring nod. "You're not alone anymore," he said. She held the contact for a second longer, then let go, and turned. She walked down her path without looking back. Alex watched her go, his expression thoughtful but steady. There was no urgency in him now, no tension pulling at his movements. Just quiet understanding. The figure beside him shifted slightly. "You've changed her behavior significantly," they said. Alex shook his head. "No," he replied. "She changed her own behavior. I just didn't get in the way." A pause. "And you?" the figure asked. Alex considered that for a moment, then smiled faintly. "I think I finally ended up where I was always supposed to be," he said. "Somewhere people need to be understood more than controlled." The figure didn't respond, but they didn't argue either. Alex turned and began walking down his own path, his steps unhurried, his posture relaxed. Behind him, the system continued to hum, quieter now, less certain of its old definitions. And somewhere ahead in a different corridor, Kerra walked without fear for the first time in a long time. Not because the world had changed, but because someone had shown her it could.